Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast, where it's a National Hunt special. This is our Jumpers to Follow podcast. We did it 2 years ago, actually. It went very well. I don't know why we didn't get one out last year, but we are back with the Jumpers to Follow podcast. And most importantly, we're back with our Matchbook ambassador, Olly Murphy, joined by Steve Jones, Mihal Deasy, Sam Turner as well. We've got Olly for 15 minutes, so we'll get a few questions over to him. Olly, welcome along. Can I start by talking about the other side of the fence, which has got episode 2 out now, I know, where Charlie Post is breaking in some horses. It looked like Charlie enjoyed that. You obviously enjoyed being part of it too, and it just shows something a little bit different, Olly.
Yeah, no, it does 100%, Tom. Just shows kind of, obviously what happens as soon as they come back from the sales, which a lot of people wouldn't kind of really realise. So, Charlie and Fan are a big part of my setup. Obviously, the first steps that those horses take are very important. So, they do a great job, and plenty of my nice horses have come out of there, and hopefully will send in the years to follow as well.
How many new horses, if you like, have you got in the yard this year? Obviously, you know it's a jumps game, so you're by and large keeping horses for a little bit longer. But I know you like to bring in a nice new crop of horses every year. How many are we talking this year, Olly?
I'd say in between 30 and 40, Tom, horses that you guys won't have seen on a racetrack, whether they're 4-year-olds which haven't run, or point-to-point recruits, or horses off the flat, or new horses that have been sent to me. So a healthy number. We've had a big turnover of horses now during the summer months. Certain horses getting moved on, and fresh blood coming in, which I always think is important. So just a really exciting time of the year now.
All right, let's ask you about some horses in particular, because I know the panel want to ask you about some horses. Jonesy also asked if we could just ask you anything, so God knows what he's got up this Steve, first of all, which horse did you want to ask Olly about?
A horse called Chasing Fire, who won at Wetherby back in March, a bumper. That was the only start for you, wasn't it, Olly? And it's a bumper that's got a real pedigree. Hillcrest and Super Sunday, Good Boy Bobby all won that. And I just wondered where sort of he is in the pecking order of your horses to go novice hurdling.
Yeah, he's right up there. His work was second to none the day he won in Wetherby. He was a horse who always showed us a lot at home. I think he surprised Aidan kind of how quick he picked up that day and put the race to bed within a matter of strides. The second's gone on and won a bumper since. But yeah, he's a horse I really like. His jumping's been very good. He'll start from the 2-mile maiden hurdle somewhere, and hopefully he can take kind of high ranking in that division this year. But yeah, he's a horse that I like by Maxios, and one I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, he's got a pretty special pedigree because he's a nephew of Milan, who of course won the St. Leger, and it's gone on to be one of the top jump stallions. So he's got the promise and the pedigree. When, in general terms, you're looking at horses, your dad's obviously been a very successful bloodstock agent. Where do you look at the pedigree? Do you put more weight on the pedigree or the actual look of the horse and the conformation?
Yeah, I'd imagine when we get the store sales, we kind of tend to buy a horse with a decent pedigree. If they've got no form to their name, you can relax a little bit on that side of things if they've gone and won or shown something, albeit you'd still like them to have a good pedigree. There's certain sires that aren't lucky for certain trainers, and you wouldn't be so keen to go and buy a horse by a certain sire, but that's the same with everyone. But when they've got a bit of form to their name, you can kind of forgive one or two things where you probably wouldn't buy them as unraced 3-year-olds.
And what would be your favourite kind of stallions?
Good question. I've got a few Dr. Dinos, which obviously a very good French sire now. They're very, very hard to buy at present. Obviously, Walk in the Park is the complete rave at the moment. We've an awful lot of them around the place, so I hope he carries on performing as a stallion around. So I'm going to be pretty light at the top end. But certain horses are lucky for you. Certain sires are lucky for you. Okavango probably wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea. I've got a couple by Okavango, a horse called Yukon Tango and a horse called Rambo T. They weren't expensive horses, 40 or 50 grand kind of horses. Once they're only placed in point to points. I don't think they stay 3 miles, so they didn't manage to win their points, and they've come to me and step back down and trip, and they both look well above average. So it's what you're lucky doing, and size you're lucky with, and yeah, he's certainly one I've been lucky with at Okavango.
I've written both of those down. They'll be on They'll be on a horses to follow list somewhere else. Don't you worry. Sam, who did you want to ask Ollie about? Anything else?
Yeah, they'll be on the Tom Stanley private service, won't they? To all good customers. Ollie, one horse I really loved was Go Dante, who obviously won his bumper really well at Wincanton, went well backed, and then really impressive at Bangor. Things didn't quite go to plan for him after that, but you really minded him. You were careful not to overface him last year. Do you think that patience will be borne out this year?
Yeah, do you know what, Sam? Probably a lot of people wouldn't know. He actually got an injury after Newbury, and he won his bumper in Wincanton. He never came off the bridle again. A horse I thought the world of at home before we went to Wincanton, so I wasn't surprised to see him kind of win the fashion that he did. I then had him actually declared to run in the Aintree bumper, and I was actually up at my hotel in Aintree on the Thursday, and Jared, my assistant, rang and said Godante's lame. I'm not sure whether he'll be able to run tomorrow. Anyway, vet came in, looked like he'd pulled a muscle, was non-runnered, and that was him for the season. He came back in training again the following season for a novice hurdle campaign, and he was never really jumped with any kind of great enthusiasm, and I'm just not so sure whether he didn't have a real deep underlying issue all through the summer and all through the start of last season, from the moment he ran in Bangor to when he finishing fourth in the Grade 1 in Newbury. He jumped okay when he won in Bangor. He jumped dreadful when he got beat in a so-called match race at Ascot. We then ran him straight in a Grade 1, and he actually ran remarkably well considering he fractured his pelvis that day. So yeah, he's a horse I still think the world of. He's back in training. I think he looks better than ever. I think he's a mark of 128, if I remember rightly, or certainly in and around that mark. And yeah, Barry's got no experience. I'd like to think he is extremely well handicapped. I was adamant he was the real deal. I really was, and I still stand by that. And if he is, he'll be winning a handicap of 128 sooner rather than later, and I'll be proved right. He came back in probably 6 weeks later than everything else he did, a month on a water treadmill. So he's going to be a little bit behind, but I'd say back end of November he'll start off in a 2.5 mile handicap somewhere, and I'm really looking forward to him.
Okay, well, nobody watches this, so we'll be all right. We'll still be able to get a price about him. What ground and what trip would you be looking for first up?
I'd say we'd start him off over 2.5 miles. Aidan was always of the opinion that he wasn't a slow horse, but I just think 2.5 miles is slowing down for him. He's that year older again, and he's have a very good pedigree, and they used to stay at trips. So we'll go to a fair track the first day. Probably try and find a handicap where there aren't going to be a million runners, as he hasn't got a lot of experience, and kind of plot our season from there. But he's a horse I love. He's got like so much raw talent, and I'm really looking forward to him.
Yeah, he's from a lovely family as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. We actually bought his full sister on the back of him winning a bumper, which sometimes is the right thing to do and sometimes isn't the right thing to do. But she's a queen as well. She'll be seen in a bumper now in the autumn, all being well. She's called Little Miss Dante.
Super. And does Barbara own her as well?
Barbara owns her as well. So yeah, we'll hopefully keep the family going. Strange, obviously Angela Harlan was a sister as well, and I actually got sent her. I didn't buy her, and we've kind of followed the pedigree through, and yeah, it's a really good pedigree.
Yeah, good luck with him.
Thank you very much.
Dees, who is? I know who your horse is because it was my dark horse to follow a couple of years ago.
Was it?
Yeah.
Sorry. The horse I'm on about is Tamar Bridge. He's owned by the McNeils. He did me a few favours at the start of the season last year. A certain podcast host told me he probably wouldn't win that entry race, but I ignored his advice. I thought he looked really good winning that entry race. He beat some kind of good hardened handicappers, but I think he might have just went off the boil a bit in his next two runs. Just wondering how he is and what are the plans from this year.
Yeah, he's absolutely fine. So he is. Kind of blame myself really for his season last year. He won his novice hurdle in Wetherby really well, then went to Aintree and won a good handicap, and we then decided it was only kind of 3 weeks later. He had a very hard race in Aintree now, bottomless ground during they raced from turning into the line and obviously got up the head bobber. So yeah, we then went to Cheltenham New Year's Day. And I just ran him back too quick. It was simple as that. And I think through running him back too quick that day, I left his season in Cheltenham as well. So yeah, he's a horse. When he gets a hard race now, I don't think he'll be seen for 6 weeks after getting a hard race. He's a big idle horse that just kind of keeps finding. So he does kind of end up giving himself a hard race each time he runs. But yeah, from winning an Aintree, I shouldn't have gone to Cheltenham in December. It was New Year's Day. It was the complete wrong thing to do. So yeah, that's kind of why after Aintree his form tailed off. He then had a poor run in Haydock again then after. But I wouldn't mind his last 2 runs. I'd look back at his Wetherby run and his Aintree success, and yeah, he's a horse who'll go jumping fences. I'm sure he's gonna be a lovely staying chaser.
That was going to be my next question. Is he staying over the hurdles, or is he going chasing?
No, he's going to go chasing. He actually jumped a fence at the back end of last year before we turned him out and jumped really well. He's a funny horse. I'll tell you a very quick story about me. You'll enjoy this. He was a horse who never really showed a whole pile at home. He's just a real average workhorse. And we ran him in a bumper at Haydock, and Adrian Heskin was actually off injured. And I rang Adrian. I said, this horse works so bad. I said, we cannot run him because there'll be fireworks. We can't run the horse. His work wasn't good enough. We've got to wait till he does a slightly better bit of work. And Adrian went, do you know what? Just run him. We're going to run the bumper before we go jumping hurdles. And yeah, we'll move on from them. Anyway, I sent him up to Haydock, and I remember saying to Ian Turner, Max's racing manager, and Greg Stone and Max that run this horse's work had been ordinary and very much a watching brief. And he came off the bridle turning in Haydock. I thought he'll fall out the back of the TV screen here. And all he did was keep picking up and picking up and picking up and picking up. Anyway, he got up the shadows of the post. I was never, ever to the day as surprised to see a horse win a bumper as I was him. And do you know what? When I gallop him now, I'd gallop him with literally the worst horse in the yard, just for his confidence. He's that bad a workhorse, and he's a proper 130 plus. Hopefully even better than that staying chaser in the making. So it just shows it doesn't matter what they do at home some of the time.
Now I'm confused, Olly, because I'm sure you gave me that horse as a horse to follow before he ran. So you basically gave me the worst workhorse in the yard. That's great.
He always showed us loads jumping, but yeah, his work was always very, very average. But I was proved right, Tom, in the long run.
Yeah, you were. You were spot on. We've had a couple of comments in. Ronan and Groom's horse is the same as mine. So Gunsight Ridge. Could you ask Olly about Gunsight Ridge? Potentially well handicapped for 2 mile chases? ? I mean, was it a case at the back end of last year, Olly, that he always gave his all, didn't he? And he had a couple of hard races. Where is he now?
Trainer error again, Tom. Sandown, great track. Horses get extremely hard races there. He had a very, very hard race when he won the good 2 mile handicap there after Christmas. And he then had a very, very hard race when arguably lads took each other on when he went back there and ran a good handicap chase at the end of January. Gave himself a very, very hard race that day. And I think I left my season there. Freshened him up. Thought Aintree was his Gold Cup, which it was, but he had a very kind of hard mid part of the season, and yeah, that was the long and short. He obviously went off favourite for the Red Rum. I've no doubt he's well capable of winning a good handicap. Those valuable races around Ascot, I think, will suit him well. I think going up to 2.5 miles and maybe riding him a little bit more patiently as well wouldn't be the worst thing to do. So, a few options with him. Still handicapped to win a nice race. I've just tweaked his wind again as well. So yeah, very accurate jumper, Tom. But yeah, he was beat after he jumped 2 fences in the Red Rum, and yeah, a long holiday kind of was awaiting him.
A couple more, because I know we're going to say goodbye to you in a minute. Daniel Overall says, how is Copperless? Will we see him back this season? Are there provisional plans in place for him? Won the Swinton in 21, did he not? And we haven't seen him since.
No, hasn't been seen since. Yeah, again, a very, very good horse. To win a 100 grand handicap like he did, he never came off the bridle and won 12 lengths or whatever he did. We were actually talking about him this morning. He's got a mark 141. I'm not really sure where to start him off. Again, he's probably 6 weeks behind the others. I didn't know whether it was a crazy thing to do, starting him off in a fighting 5th, or whether he'd be a long way short. I'm not sure, but I'd love to get either a prep run into him and go to Ascot for the old Labrock. I can't think what it's called now. Racing Welfare handicap hurdle at Hunter's Call, one at Christmas. yeah, he's going to be a tricky horse to place before getting a prep run into him. But I'd love to either run him in a fighting fifth, and it'd either knock the edge off him and he can go for a Ladbroke, or if he ran very well in a fighting fifth, then he's going to be a champion hurdle horse. I know you lads are looking at me thinking you're on drugs, but he was going to win
That's just Steve's face, Ollie. That's what Steve himself.
He was going to win the boys' race in Aintree, having not come out of second gear. He won a 100 grand handicap, being the Swinton by 12 lengths, beating Camprond, the country mile. Jim, the form of that race worked out really well. And I don't know, I just think if he improved another stone, I'm not telling you he's going to win a champion hurdle or anything like that, but he could be a horse who could be competitive enough in that kind of division. I haven't a clue where Constitution Hill's going to start. Is Epatante going to stay at 2 miles and go 2.5? And apart from that, over this side of the water, listen, it's all very well until you go and run a horse in them and try and win those kind of races. But I'm not so sure it's the strongest of divisions if you've got something that's rated in and around 150 that is a 2 mile hurdler. But I might be wrong. You're the experts. You
don't know how good he could be yet, do you? I mean,
no.
Is the ground imperative to him, would you say?
He's a Cave Tara. He has had his wind tweaked. I don't think he's a horse who wants very heavy ground now, no. But the day he won the Swinton, I was a little bit nervous. It absolutely poured rain, and it was soft ground that day. I know it's ages ago, but after he won, he was second favourite Galway hurdle, and he got a little niggle, but he had a small fracture of his pelvis, and then he had a problem with the hind suspensory as well. So he is a hard horse to train. Just great to get another month or 6 weeks under his belt before talking about any plans. But I just thought if he reproduced his Swinton hurdle form, I think he's only had 4 or 5 starts over hurdles as well. So he's very, very unexposed if we can get him back to that kind of form.
Just one more quick question, Ollie, if I could. How do you go about training a horse like that? Obviously he's quite fragile in disposition and conformation. How do you get him fit and ready
obviously everyone's aware that I train a deep Wexford sand gallop. So I just think in all aspects in life, speed kills, speed causes injuries. So just trying to do as much kind of steady work with him as possible, just to get that real core fitness into him before kind of stepping him up. So yeah, without putting too much pressure on his limbs, for the first 6 or 8 weeks, do as much steady work as you can just to get that kind of real core fitness into him. So that's the plan at the moment anyway.
Good.
Glad someone asked about Copperless. Daniel, thank you very much indeed. Last question, Deesh, you had one more for Ollie?
Yeah, just one more. Maybe one people mightn't have heard of yet was a horse we saw when we were over videoing in your yard. Actually, we saw this horse absolutely ping a hurdle, and he won very well a few weeks after. The horse is called Sure Touch. He's owned by Gigi's. He 3 nice wins there in the summer. I'm just wondering, where is he going?
Yeah, he might get a Worcester on Friday. He's been a real fun horse through the summer. He's won his 3 starts on a bit of nice grounds. He's going to go to Worcester on Friday. He's a horse who got beat off a mark of 107 in the winter, and he's off 120 now, having not run the handicap again. So doesn't quite seem right, albeit hopefully he's improved for getting a bit of confidence under his belt, and he'll jump a fence as well. So yeah, real fun horse. He's out of Libertine. Do you remember her, guys?
Yeah, yeah.
Mare of Robert Whaley Kearns. So yeah, he's got a real good pedigree.
Did she sweat up and then win the Cathcart?
Correct. Yeah. That's her. Yeah, that's her. So yeah, one of Mr. Whaley Kearns has got a very good pedigree, and yeah, he's been a fun horse.
Steve, the Cathcart was a race that used to be the Cheltenham Festival.
Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. I'm here for you. Good stuff. Steve, you got one more for Ollie. Then once I go say goodbye.
Yeah. Sorry to put you on the spot. You got a horse called IK Brunel. Do you know what he's named after, or who he's named after?
IK Brunel is named after.
Ignore him.
Because Tom thought it wasn't about the engineer who built most of Victorian Britain. He thought it was named after the university. Tom.
It is, yeah. It's about that engineer. My racing PA is listening in, and she tells me that is correct. So
I got absolutely ruined, Ollie, by the fact that I said this horse IK Brunel, and I said, and Jonesy asked me what was named after. I said a university, and I've never lived in that. What can you do? What can you do?
And IK Brunel was responsible for building the Tamar Bridge. So-
That'd be correct, because Greg Stone, Product Network, is obviously involved in the 2 horse, and I have a funny feeling he might have named both of them. So that makes a lot of sense.
And he didn't build the university.
Steve,
No,
as
he
you're the
didn't.
expert, was it the Clifton Suspension Bridge as well?
Clifton
You
Bridge.
got
They have a horse called Clifton Bridge, so I'd imagine so. Yeah.
But not the university.
There you go.
Not the university.
Ollie, top man, thanks a lot. Thanks for your time.
Charlie.
Cheers, Ollie.
No
And
worries.
the
There.
episode 3 of The Other Side of the Fence will be out soon, I know, so keep an eye out for that. And there'll be lots more content with Ollie coming up. Cheers, Ollie. All the best.
Take care, lads. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.